All right, guys. So we are back here for the afternoon session, but I thought what we would do is while we wait for court to begin, um, I figured we would check out this interview. We heard the testimony. It may have been a little hard for everybody to hear, but this is an interview done courtesy of First Homestead, uh, and an interview that Paula did. And I think it's a lot clearer than what she testified to due to the audio issues. And it helps you again to see another consistent statement that Paula has been very consistent in what she said about this situation, and she gets to talk a little freer than than what she was able to do in that deposition, as well as, of course, she was having audio issues, health issues, etc. when we saw her testifying from the hospital room. So I figure we'll start this and then we'll jump into the trial and use this during breaks. It's only about 12, I think about 17 minutes long. So it's not a long interview, but I think it's an interesting one. So let's start out with that. And when trial comes up, gets back in session, or court gets back in session, we'll jump back over there. So without further ado, let's start the interview.
Today we're sitting down with Paula Belmont. Miss Belmont is the surviving victim of the Treehouse murder story that we've been covering a while here at True Homestead. Miss Belmont, thank you so much for sitting down with us today to give us your time and tell us a little bit about your story.
You're very welcome.
Miss Belmont, just because of some of the issues that have gone on in this case, I want to make sure that we're clear here. You're here of your own free will, and you haven't been threatened or coerced in any way or offered any compensation for your interview today, have you?
Yes, I'm here on my own free will because no, I haven't been offered anything.
Okay. And you're just here because you want to be able to tell your story in your words for what you believe to be the truth, and you want people to be able to hear that?
Yes, I want justice for Tyrone.
Absolutely. Miss Belmont, being the surviving victim of this case, would you like to recount a little for us your recollection of the night that the murder occurred and that you were attacked?
Okay. I was up the stairs with my friends in the treehouse, which is more like a triple tiered deck with a little overhang, and we were hanging out when two people came barreling up the stairs. One jumped on me immediately, slit my neck, telling me that if I didn't give him the money, he was going to kill me. As he was beating me, I was kicking on the floor, the floorboards, yelling for help, and continue to yell for help. And as the two people that were there, the one I didn't really get to see because this other person was at my friend, holding a knife to my friend's throat, doing this to him to be quiet. As these two people were going down the stairs, my landlord Matthew came up the stairs, and Rory Detroit Wilson, the one who slit my neck, started to take off his mask, and Matthew saw it, and that's when he got stabbed and murdered.
Okay, so before Matthew approached and there was an incident with Matthew, Detroit or Rory Wilson is holding you down and had cut you.
Yes. Cut me with his left hand and was beating me with his right hand, punching the hell out of me.
And there's a second assailant that's there, and he's holding a knife to your friend. And that friend is
Yes.
Roger?
Yes. Now, I didn't know this at the time because I really couldn't see much past Detroit because he's a very big man.
Okay, so there were two assailants. One of them,
Yes.
you know for a fact, is Detroit. And
Yes.
he is
Even
attacking you. And then
Yes.
the other assailant is kind of dealing with your friend Roger and telling him to
Yes.
be quiet.
Didn't tell him, but shushed him like that. He didn't speak while he was up top of the stairs.
Okay. And then your landlord Matthew starts coming towards up the stairs.
Yes.
And at that point, both assailants leave you.
No, one was already going down, and like Matthew walked past him to come up. That was the person. I guess he had his head turned or whatever. I'm not sure because I couldn't see that. But as Rory was the one facing Matt when Matt was turning the corner to come up to me. So there was essentially one in front of Matthew, one behind Matthew.
And is Detroit or Rory, is he the one who attacked Matthew?
Yes.
So Detroit attacked both you and Matthew.
Yes.
Okay. And the second assailant, the first assailant, Rory Detroit, you know it was Rory Detroit, and he's a black man,
Yes.
correct?
Yes. Yes.
And Tyrone Tucker's a white man.
Yes.
Different body plan, different body build, different locomotion, everything.
Width-wise, height-wise, walking-wise, everything.
In the second assailant, I'm not sure that he's been 100% positively identified. Some people think it might be this guy Travis. Some people are claiming it's Tyrone. But you know Tyrone, correct?
The police are the ones that claim it's Tyrone.
Okay.
And other idiots in the street. But, well, Detroit and Travis say it's Tyrone, too. After they used Tyrone as an alibi, and both of them were arrested, then they made Tyrone an accomplice. Originally, Tyrone was their alibi.
Originally, they said Tyrone was her alibi. Tyrone's not there. We were with Tyrone to give themselves cover for not being there.
Each one of them separately said that until they both got caught, and then they turned Tyrone into the next assailant when there was only two people there.
Okay, so the second assailant will assume or say for right now that it's likely Travis, but it could be Tyrone. How do you know that the second assailant was not Tyrone?
No, it's not Tyrone. It didn't match Tyrone's height or frame. I saw half of his body from the back. It's not him width-wise. It's not him height-wise. When Matthew went tumbling down the stairs, I heard the other person say, I think he's dead, or I think we killed him. It was not Tyrone's voice. I know Tyrone's voice.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tyrone has a very, very distinctive voice. I've spoken with him several times. And you might not have been very closely associated with Tyrone before this, but you knew Tyrone enough to recognize his voice.
Exactly. Correct. Exactly.
In your recollection...
I actually didn't even remember his name. Was Tyrone. I don't think that's how I met him. But I know him enough that no, it was not his voice. It was not his size. Like I said, even though I only saw the back part of this person.
And you feel
that it wasn't.
And you feel confident that it was not Tyrone.
Yes, absolutely. And I had said that from day one or night one, however you want to phrase it.
So after the incident, the police interviewed you. How did the interview go?
Pretty much the way they decided they wanted it to go.
Did you feel they tried to influence your testimony or get you to change your testimony or add something to your testimony?
Every time I tried to stick up for Tyrone, I was just shushed aside. The subject would be changed. Oh, no, Paula, it didn't happen like this. You don't know Tyrone like we know Tyrone. He's manipulative. He's evil. They told me he's got this really bad criminal record. As far as I know of, I don't even think he has a criminal record prior. But every time I tried to stick up for him, the more I stood up for him, the more I got kicked to the curb, I guess you would say.
Did you feel that the way they were interrogating you in their investigation was improper, as if they weren't listening to what you were telling them, but were trying to insert their own facts that they wanted into the case?
Well, yes, even down to day one, a drug deal gone bad. That was a crock of shit. There was never no prior drug deal that day gone bad. I don't know where all that came from. The same place everything else that their lies have come from. Tyrone happened to be staying in that warehouse that night, and that's how he got roped into it.
I've read the transcripts in a lot, and there's so much going on, and it seems very clear for me there's a lot of improper things happening. I'd like to assume that it was malicious, but I don't know that, but it seems very clear that it's improper. So I want to ask you another question. When the police, so Matthew's been killed, you've been cut,
yes.
There's a robbery, and there's people injured. The police come to the scene that night, and it's a crime scene, correct?
Yes.
Do you think that they properly collected all the evidence that was there?
Oh, hell no. The blanket that I was attacked on wasn't even taken. For starters, there was blood everywhere all over that blanket. I was sliced on that blanket. I was beaten on that blanket. It was still on the bed, covered in blood the next day.
So you've been following this case quite intently, correct?
Oh, you're breaking up.
I'm sorry. I said you've been following this case since the beginning very intently, correct?
Yes.
In your opinion, do you feel that there's been other mishandling of evidence or improper collection of evidence or gathering of evidence?
Of course there has. In the real world, it wouldn't happen like this.
I agree. I noticed in the deposition transcript, the lead detective picture, he admitted that he had a sustained IA against him for, I believe it was 178 counts of mishandling evidence in this case. I'm not even sure how you have 178 pieces of evidence if you're saying they didn't collect the evidence, but that's what he admitted to. I don't know if it was several counts per piece or what, but that just seemed absolutely just unfathomable to me that it would go that way.
And it made no sense.
But Paul, is there anything else that you would like to say about this case, or that you feel in your heart that you want people to know?
I want people to know that I feel that Penny Phillips, Colleen Dunn, all of them that are lying and try to frame Tyrone, I feel that they should go to jail for the same amount of time that Tyrone sat in jail. So
you're the surviving victim. You're alleging and basically telling me you swear that, I know you're not under oath here, but I think when we spoke before, you said that you swear on your life that it was not Tyrone.
Yes, on my life, which I almost lost. No, it was not.
And as you said before, your big motivation here is that you know Tyrone is innocent and you want that to be heard. So
yes, and if Matthew was alive, he would fight for Tyrone too, because that's the type of person that Matthew was. I don't want to see anyone in jail that doesn't belong in jail.
And being that you're so adamant that Tyrone was innocent, and you're so adamant that you want it to be heard that Tyrone was innocent, have you and Tyrone spoken recently?
No, we're not allowed to. I had tried to reach out to Tyrone, and reached out to Lauren, who I didn't know, for the plain and simple fact that once Tyrone was let out on bond at that ridiculous price, I was worried that Tyrone was getting in trouble for me being the person who he got charged with for tampering with a witness, because inadvertently me and Tyrone accidentally had lunch together. Like, we met up at McDonald's before Tyrone was arrested. Rory had already been arrested, and Tyrone hadn't. And I happened to walk into McDonald's, and he was in the back corner because he had just been released from being questioned. And he came up to me, and I mean, literally, we went outside because I was bawling, telling my story, crying on his shoulder. I got sidetracked.
It's okay. We're talking about the no contact order, and you meet up with Tyrone.
Okay, yes. So then later on, when I find out that Tyrone got arrested, it said for witness tampering, and I was upset, thinking that he was in trouble for talking to me. So I reached out to Lauren, reached out to Tyrone, the Free Franklin Tucker page. I did get a response from Lauren on Facebook. I called. Now at this point, Colleen Dunn had been kicked to the curb like she belongs, and the new prosecutor. I contacted the prosecutor and said I want to be able to Facebook and message back and forth with Lauren. Judge Jones issued a no contact order, which I'm trying to get lifted. I wrote a letter. Apparently you have to have a motion filed. But I now have a lawyer to help me so I don't get railroaded for doing things like what I'm doing now, talking to you. Because, that frame everybody down here as far as this case is concerned.
I'm sure of that, but I want you to know, I strongly believe, I'm not an attorney, I cannot give legal advice, but you have a First Amendment right to speak. I'm the media. You have a right to speech, press, and petition. If anything happens to you, if you have any retaliation or anything negative, please let me know immediately. You have all my contact information. I will find attorneys to hop on this if your attorney needs help.
Thank you.
So you said the judge had issued the no contact order. Do you know if the state had requested that?
No, I don't know. The only reason I found out about it was because Lauren told me. Lauren was worried that they were going to get in trouble for me trying to reach out to them through Facebook, which is why I got in touch with the state attorney, the new state attorney. So I don't know the details of it. I do know I'm trying to get it dropped. because I would like to talk to Tyrone.
You
Basically,
know,
I'm going to tell Tyrone I'm sorry for everything he's been through.
so you know the judge issued the order, but you don't know if the judge did that on his own or somebody had requested it.
I think he did it on his own because it's not just Tyrone. It's also against the other two.
Okay.
It's all three of them.
And
Detroit.
And you didn't want this
Tyrone.
contact order, correct? And you did not want this contact order, and you've hired an attorney to get it removed. Is that correct?
Well, I actually got an attorney, a pro bono attorney.
Oh, God bless.
That would help me. I didn't ask for it. I wanted. I mean, the other two were in prison jail where they need to be. I don't want nothing to do with them. But like I said, Tyrone was my friend. Tyrone still is my friend, even though we're not allowed to speak. But I want to be able to speak to him. I want to be actually able to speak to Lauren instead of just. I'm going to meet him. I want to meet Lauren. I would like to go out and give Tyrone a hug and just literally, like I said, apologize to him for the nightmare that he's been going through.
Lauren's an angel, and Ty has been put through a nightmare. I just wish all of us that go through these nightmares could have angels like Lauren. She's a force of nature I have absolute respect for.
Without Lauren, Tyrone would probably die in jail, in prison, because...
Miss Belmont, before I hop off here, I want to ask you one more thing. Now, you mentioned the witness tampering or witness intimidation. I know witness tampering or tampering with a witness was one of the charges levied against Tyrone. But
yeah, and that proved to be bullshit also.
Now, I agree it's likely bovine excrement. Where I'm trying to go at with this, though, is whether Tyrone, if somehow or another he did tamper with another witness, it was another witness. It absolutely was not you. Is that correct?
Absolutely no, not me. It was supposedly Rory's Detroit's wife.
Okay, but Tyrone or Lauren or nobody other than police have ever asked you to change your testimony. Is that correct?
That's correct. The police never really asked me to change my testimony. They just tried to sway me. Like at one point, Matt Pitcher almost had me questioning, like, well, could this really have been? But no, there was nothing that would make me say it was Tyrone. And I'm in a weird situation because two of them I'm going against and the one I'm sticking up for. So it's kind of confusing for the defense attorney. Yes, but that's the way it is.
So you're not just somebody who doesn't want anybody to ever be punished. People who are guilty and committed murder or robbery, you absolutely believe should be sitting in jail.
Oh, yeah.
But you believe an innocent man should never sit in jail the same way I do.
If I thought Tyrone did it, he can rot in hell like the other two, as far as I'm concerned. But Tyrone didn't do it.
Miss Belmont,
and I'm going to fight just as much as I can for him because he deserves to have somebody stick up for him instead of the crooked Bubba system down here.
Miss Belmont, I really want to thank you so much. I can't thank you enough with words for sitting down and speaking with me and speaking with my audience. We've been following this case for a while, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, of pages. And when you go through it, it's beyond obvious of the issues, but it's hard to describe or get anybody to follow reading 500 pages. I think your words will really help a lot of readers understand what's going on and how egregious the conduct or misconduct of the state's attorney's office and the sheriff's office have been in this case.
Yes, sir. And I certainly hope it helps Tyrone.
Again, we thank you so much. If you need anything from me or you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. If there's any retaliation, I would want to know about it immediately. And again, God bless you. I'm praying for you. And I hope I get to meet you soon and buy you dinner.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
You're so welcome. God bless.
My apologies. I didn't have my microphone turned back on. So hopefully you found that helpful. I think you could see from her interview there, she told a pretty consistent story. I mean, she said, as she said, from day one, and that's the thing that I think is interesting that a lot of people don't understand, and the state tries to throw it out there that her story's changed. Her story's never changed. They've wanted her to change it. They've come at her to change it, but it's never changed. Anyways, court is back in session. Let's jump in here and get caught up here on what's going on.
Tucker, everybody's here. I just want to say something and then we'll hear from everybody. I'm very concerned about the fact that we don't have any more defense witnesses despite the representations that we would. I'm not doing half days. I'm not doing third days. You either have your case and your evidence together, sir, or we're going to move on with this trial to the next phase because it's completely unacceptable the fact that Friday we've got only the problematic Zoom on Paul at Belmont. Today we have nobody else.
Your Honor.
It's not going to happen that way anymore.
Your Honor, can I please speak for a second?
Yes, sir. You did not offer one explanation legitimate as to why your supposed witnesses weren't here.
I will literally, if you'll give me just a second, I can go ahead and explain.
Yes, sir.
Okay. First off, we were given 4 weeks when I had attorneys, Your Honor.
That was an outer limit. It wasn't not so we could take lengthy breaks.
And I'm not planning on it. I just cut my witness list down so that we could make sure that it's going to be timely, Your Honor. But I have no way of knowing how fast transport's going to bring Todd O'Quinn from the prison.
I can tell you they're not going to be bringing him any time during the course of this trial, unless you've got a order to transport ahead of time, which I haven't been presented with one.
Well, and the thing is, okay, well, that's Your Honor. That's why I also wanted to defer to the court's opinion on this because, okay, if I can get him via Zoom, that negates that. But I mean, Zoom was problematic, I admit, right? So I didn't think Your Honor would want to go for another Zoom hearing. But at the same time, he is an important witness in this case.
Well, sir, whatever provisions you've made, that's fine. If you haven't made proper provisions ahead of time, well, then it's on you. So in any event,
Your Honor,
I really not interested in hearing more excuses right now, sir.
I had one other thing.
I'm not interested in hearing it. I'm telling you that 2 days in a row we've had trial time, we've had representations, you had people here, and you didn't. So, Mr. Mansfield, what did the state want to bring up? Because we'll
Judge, the defendant has advised us that he plans on calling Seth LeVay. Seth LeVay was supposed to be here today. He's not here. He has proffered to us that his purpose in calling Seth LeVay is to authenticate the motion to suppress that the defendant believes will then be admissible in front of this jury. I submit to this court that it doesn't work that way. That written motion is hearsay. Even if Seth LeVay takes a stand and says, yes, I wrote this at the request of my client, it is hearsay. Anything contained with it is hearsay and makes it inadmissible. There is no sworn statements of Travis Johnson in that motion. Not to mention, anything that Seth LeVay gathered from his client is privileged communication. And again, Seth LeVay is not at liberty to discuss or to publish that. So I believe that us waiting around for tomorrow for Seth LeVay to come down here is going to be a waste of time because we are moving to strike him as a witness because I believe that anything he'll testify to is not admissible.
613, Your Honor.
Not to mention he's no longer under subpoena. So that's the first problem. The second problem is he's mentioned this Todd O'Quinn. Your Honor's already touched on it. There's been no transport order, no provisions made. Todd O'Quinn is not going to be here. The next witness, he says Tom Walker, the investigator that did the IA investigation. I've already proffered to the court that I believe that most of that's going to be inadmissible because the IA investigator who investigated these allegations of impropriety in this investigation occurred years after this crime. Again, what I believe he's going to testify to is going to be inadmissible in this trial. His subpoena ended last Friday, so he's no longer under subpoena either. So my question to the court is, are we closing tomorrow because I need to be prepared, or is there something that's going to be presented that will be admissible? That's where we're at. The defendant indicated to us on the break that after Seth LeVay in the morning, he's got Chad Sabilla coming in the afternoon. So let's say that for whatever reason, Seth LeVay does come down here and we start up at 9 o'clock. And by 9:15, we're done with Seth LeVay. And then what are we going to do? Wait 6 hours for Chad Sabilla to come in. These are the delays that Your Honor has come out and touched upon them, but these are the delays that the state wanted to talk to the court about. We believe this defendant is holding these proceedings hostage. This is becoming ridiculous. The defendant had plenty of time over the weekend to post and open up a new YouTube channel and post all about it.
Who did that?
It's not.
I want evidence of that.
So here we are today, and he's not prepared with his witnesses. Todd O'Quinn is at Martin Correctional Facility. He's not going to be here.
5 hours. That's what it is. Your Honor, I want some evidence of what he just alleged against me.
It's just argument. It doesn't, frankly,
Anyway.
affect me. What does affect me in terms of this case is what I consider a motion in limine regarding Seth LeVay, what I consider a motion in limine regarding Tom Walker. So we can.
Wondering what YouTube channel he opened up.
In any event, so what now? What did you want to say, sir?
Well, Your Honor, to be quite frank, I'm going to go ahead and file a motion to disqualify tonight. So we're going to have to consider that.
That's fine.
Okay.
You can.
I mean, that pretty much ends the conversation right here, doesn't it?
No, sir, not at all.
I mean, because look, I am doing my best to make sure my witnesses are here.
Sir.
Right, but I'll tell you what, it's not exactly easy when first off, I have to go through the clerk, which they don't have to do. But not only that, you know, we did go over and we had overlap, Your Honor. You know, that is the way it is. Now, I just confirmed.
The state did the same thing
Now, they want to say that Tom Walker, because they're thinking I'm going to go.
in terms of not having witnesses.
Thinking I'm going to go, to that. But no, there's been evidence that has been tampered with, and we need to figure out which ones. Tom Walker has that knowledge. You know, I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, I don't know which videos have been tampered with. I don't know which ones, haven't been. I don't have that list. Tom Walker does. You know, I know a lot of them have been. I mean, Lord knows I can't use my own interview video. It's been chopped into, 60 pieces, 70 pieces?
Why isn't Tom Walker here today, as you said he would be on Friday?
Because, Your Honor, like I said, like he just said, my subpoena had run out. And like I said, I had to reissue my subpoenas. And yes, I went ahead and clarified it with everybody just now. Again, to make sure that, no, there is no further delays. Now, as far as Todd O'Quinn got in touch with me this weekend, right? Now, okay, I had trouble figuring out which facility he was in at first because they moved him. That's a problem. Then the other problem is they put him with Rory Wilson. How'd that happen?
Who knows? And it's irrelevant to what we're doing here.
It's relevant if all of a sudden I don't have a witness,
I checked Odyssey 5 minutes before you are to the bank. There have been no further subpoenas issued by the magistrate.
No, they're sitting right here because I just decided. I was like, okay, which ones am I going to narrow down? And I did want to talk to the court, but apparently the court doesn't want to talk to me, which is why I need to make a motion to disqualify.
Sir, I believe we're having a hearing right now. I'm just expressing.
No, I believe you cut him off, and
Your
Honor.
Sir.
you knew he was a pro se defendant when you allowed this to occur.
Inordinate, inappropriate delay of the proceedings. If this wasn't a lawyer, it would not be tolerated.
Yet Mr. Mansfield had no witnesses last week.
I'm not going to be sending this.
I believe it was what?
Home for half
Tuesday.
days anymore. You're either ready to go or we move on to the next stage of the proceedings.
I'll have my motion ready for you tomorrow.
Sir, that is not relevant to what we're doing now or what I expect to happen.
I know what the law says.
Well, okay, that's fine, sir. So do I. But like I said, that doesn't affect what we're addressing now. And as far as Seth LeVay is concerned, what is it that you expect him to testify to? Because if it's nothing more than saying, yeah, that's the motion to suppress that I filed.
Well, and he's also willing to say that, yes, his client did put say that his confessions were false. It literally says it right on the outside of the document, Your Honor, and it literally says inside the document, those are all previous inconsistencies. That's 613 all day.
Any more argument from the state? Because if that's what you're calling him for, I'm granting the motion. None of that is admissible. None of that
How?
is. Sir, I'm not going to start teaching you a law class now.
I mean-
that is a motion. Mr. LeVay cannot invade the attorney-client privilege. What he alleges in the motion is not admissible. So the fact that you don't have him here is yet another problem, which you said you would. But regardless, I'm granting the state's motion
Your Honor,
to strike.
you're saying I can't take a previously inconsistent statement, put it in front of Mr. Johnson and say, did you say this?
I am saying Mr. Johnson's attorney's unsworn motion doesn't consist of a previous inconsistent statement. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And nor can you ask Mr. LeVay what his client told him. Those are all clearly inadmissible. So the motion to strike LeVay is granted. In any event.
In any event, Your Honor.
Yes.
I will go ahead and I have my list for tomorrow. I have my list for the next day. But again, if I file that motion, there is going to be no tomorrow.
Sir, you can file whatever motion you want, but your understanding of that particular motion, is what it is. I will make an appropriate ruling, and we'll go from there. But in any event,
I guess we'll see.
so in any event, what else did the state? I don't expect closings tomorrow. But like I said, what I do expect is if Mr. Tucker does not have witnesses under subpoena, witness evidence ready to go, or witnesses standing by, I'm not sending this jury home anymore. We're going to proceed because that is not the way a trial is conducted. I've been more than indulgent in terms of giving him every opportunity. And so whatever you want to present or intend to present, I'd have it lined up, sir. So
That's fine, Your Honor. It's like I said, but I guess we'll see you tomorrow.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? Anything else?
Nothing else from the state, Judge.
All right. So we'll be here at 9 o'clock, and we'll go from there.
Well, that was interesting to say the least. I think there's a couple things there. Unfortunately, I mean, I understand the judge's position on the LeVay motion. If there isn't a sworn statement attached to it, it would be problematic to get him without having Travis Johnson waive attorney-client privilege. There could be some issues there. Again, this is why, definitely having an attorney with you in court would be helpful, because the attorney can help you wade through some of these things. Now, the O'Quinn thing, what I don't understand is, knowing he's a pro se defendant, I feel like there should have been some leeway in things done to help Mr. Tucker along in terms of securing and helping him secure the presence of Mr. O'Quinn, because Mr. O'Quinn is going to be a key witness. But here's the thing, in my opinion. He got Paula on the stand. I really don't believe there's a need to have any further witnesses. I know he would like to put them on because he wants to air some of this stuff publicly in his trial. But the judge is going to force this to closing arguments, or at least force this to where they're going to have probably not closed tomorrow, but they're going to be discussing instructions, and they're going to discuss the law, and they're going to go to conference on that, I think, tomorrow. Possibly, maybe he gets them to close. I don't know. I think the state would probably be upset about that, but I think this thing will be closing on Wednesday and to the jury by Wednesday afternoon. I think that's where we're trending, and I think the judge telegraphed that the disqualification motion could end up. He's going to probably deny it unless, depending on the issues raised. Now, that could potentially lead to a mistrial. I mean, that's that's kind of a situation that is unavoidable if you're filing a motion like that. Apologize for that. But it's kind of an unavoidable situation where he's, from the judge's perspective, if you're having an active complaint against the judge, and you've got a motion to disqualify, but he's got to raise the right grounds. He's got to make sure he's got his the law lined up in his favor to get this thing through. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. It potentially becomes a reversible error, but of course, there's nothing to reverse if this becomes a not guilty verdict. And in my opinion, even with all of the craziness of him being a pro se defendant, not familiar with the law, I cannot imagine this jury convicting him based on the evidence that's been presented thus far. I mean, it's a hard thing for me to imagine. Obviously, juries are sometimes hard to predict. But I just find that the case that's been presented thus far, absolutely very difficult for a not guilty verdict or for a guilty verdict. So, especially when you're applying, and if the presumption of innocence is applied in this case as it should be. Now, of course, having an attorney there to argue the presumption of innocence, argue how to interpret the evidence, is very helpful. But hopefully, Mr. Tucker comes to the closing arguments ready to go, and he makes that argument, and he points out that the jury has to presume him innocent. The DNA, it's nothing. I mean, again, it's they got to assume that for the defense. It's a non-issue. There's nothing that proves that it was his. Therefore, they should presume that it isn't. Paula's testimony is, in my opinion, very strong. The fact they heard her on Friday, they heard her today. As long as main issue with that is whether or not they could even understand what she was saying. Both situations had audio issues. It's hard to follow, but the crux of what I could follow was she says it wasn't him. She said on Friday very clearly to me that it was Travis. In this deposition, she was less clear on that fact, but the jury can't unhear what they heard. They can compare it. And then you've got Travis Johnson himself. I mean, this guy, it's very clear to me that they played, he handled cross-examination about as well as a pro se defendant could in that instance. And I think there's a lot of doubt when it comes to his testimony. And again, is there a reason why he would lie? Absolutely. Is there conflicting statements? Yes. And he did a great job handling that and pointing out the fact that, especially when you contrast it to Paula Belmont, that she's the victim, the fact that the only person that appears on camera is Travis. So in my opinion, I believe that, again, when you apply the presumption of innocence to this case and then you look around at everything else that came in, nothing else came in. There's really no other evidence. I mean, there was just, the original officer on the scene was just laying foundation and ground to get in videos to establish that an unaliving had occurred. And that's it. I mean, there was foundational things that were laid, and that's it. And then you got Johnson. So, in my opinion, I don't think he needs to go further with anything else. I think he's in a good position, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. It sounds like it's going to be a very interesting day as we enter day 8 of the Treehouse unaliving case. So with that, guys, I would encourage you to check out the video I posted yesterday if you want to be able to contrast. I have some of the deposition that we saw today. It's a little bit easier to listen to. And at the beginning here, if you missed it, I play a interview that also allows you to listen to Paula in another interview where you can hear again. She's been very consistent and consistent in the fact that she believes Tyrone was not the guy. And after hearing this case, I do not understand how anyone would come to a conclusion other than that. Anyways, guys, I'm going to sign off here. I may pick up on a couple of other cases that are going on out there. Be on the lookout. Going to post some more information because there's a lot of things that about this case that I think if that the public needs to become aware of, and we're going to be highlighting it as we come into closing this out because it's important that a case like this be seen, because we have a situation where if you look at this case and you're able to see all of the evidence, you're able to see Todd O'Quinn, you're able to see all of these things, this jury would have no choice. It would be a slam dunk, not guilty, throw this thing out of court. This judge, the prosecutors, they're acting by design. They are doing what, they are suppressing evidence and keeping it out in a legal way. It's happening probably a lot in part because of the fact that Mr. Tucker doesn't have an attorney and they can kind of do what they want to do. And unfortunately for Mr. Tucker, it's the appeals courts that have to sort through this. Now, filing the motion to disqualify, I think it's a smart move. We'll see what he comes up with. But at least it puts him on notice that he is ready to go. Because I do agree. I think the judge's actions and behaviors, when you look at the record, have been absolutely outrageous and egregious. I think he's violated the professional code of conduct. And to me, if it were to be heard fairly, I think you'd have a mistrial. I think you'd be doing this all over again, and he'll be disqualified from the case. But we'll see how it all plays out. I got a feeling the judge is going to deny it. It's going to get kicked down the road. He's going to push to close his case out as soon as possible. And we hope the jury gets it right. Anyways, guys, till we talk again, let justice prevail.